This is not their issue? I don't
We've said the last.
know. Okay. I will.
Good morning. I would like to call the Wednesday, November 17th DAC meeting to order. We will begin with roll call. Haley Dellery, present. Stephen Kroll,
I am present.
Danny McElmurray with Parks and Parkways is going to be absent, but he provided written comments. Eleanor Burke,
Haley, it doesn't look like any of the other committee members are on the line, so we may just need to hold off a few minutes.
okay.
Good morning, this is Scott Wolf just checking in.
Hi, good morning, Scott.
Good morning. I'll be in the standby if you guys need me for anything.
Okay, which project are you presenting for?
I'm not presenting, Miles is presenting, I guess, for me and for 3205 Tulane Avenue.
Okay, great, thanks.
Do I need to switch on video?
We can see you.
Oh, you can see me, okay. I'll go mute if you need me.
Morning, Haley.
Good morning, Miguel.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good.
Good. We're just waiting for a few more committee members to join. Eleanor, and actually I know Lindsay Glatz is not coming. And so I guess we're just waiting for Lewis Haywood, he responded he'll be coming.
Excellent.
Haley, we just received an email from Capital Projects requesting to pull the Treme Elevator project, which is item number 7, from the agenda, and Capital Projects will resubmit for the December meeting. So if you just, this could just serve as an announcement that item number 7 is removed from the agenda.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to email Lewis just to see how long we can anticipate for him to join. And Eleanor, I might email them both.
Eleanor's on.
Oh, she's on, so we may have enough people. Stephen, would you like to get started?
Yeah, I think we have a quorum now, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll email Lewis as you sort of lead the meeting to just see if he's coming, but we can get started.
And I don't see Eleanor on. Eleanor, oh, I do. Sorry. Okay. Good morning. I would like to call the Wednesday, November 17th DAC meeting to order. We'll begin with roll call. Haley Dellery, present. Stephen Kroll, present. Danny McElmurray, absent. Eleanor Burke,
Here.
present. Miguel Viteri,
Here.
present. Lewis Haywood, absent, but we expect him to join later. And Lindsay Glatz is absent. The public comment form link is available at nola.gov/CPC. It will be available until the end of the 5-minute recess, after which time public comment will be read into the record as part of the consideration of dockets. The minutes from the October 20th DAC meeting will be considered at the next December DAC meeting. One item from today's agenda has been withdrawn, item number 7 for the Treme elevator. We will begin with the presentation of dockets. Item number 2 is the consideration of design review 11221 for a property at 3100 South Carrollton Avenue. We have Charles Nayray signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and Robin Jones is the CPC staff member assigned to this case. As a reminder, following the staff presentation, the applicant will have 10 minutes to present. Robin?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This site is a Popeyes restaurant, as you can see. It's at the corner of South Carrollton and Earhart. Popeyes is currently going through a rebranding of all its stores, and this is just one of several that they're doing this for. They're redoing the signage. They're redoing the facades of the building. Not a lot of change, not a whole lot of changes to their current parking situation. Most of their I don't know wherever the site plan sheet is. There is not a great deal of well, that's the demo site plan. That's close enough. There's not a great deal of changes that are going to be done to their parking configuration. Most of their changes have to do with the exterior of the building. They're going to be losing a few parking spaces on the left-hand side of the building, the north side of the building. And I was not able to, oh, that's right, this is, hold on. That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, Robin. So just to recap what Robin was stating, the scope of review for the DAC today is the building modifications. Charles, you now have 10 minutes to present.
Hi, yeah, this is actually Libby Krem with M2 Studio. I work with Charles. I'll be presenting today. Sorry if we did the registration wrong. But can y'all hear me?
Yes, hi.
Okay, hi. Well, Robin or Ms. Jones stated it, pretty succinctly that basically Popeyes is currently rebranding. We've already updated several locations throughout the city. There's one on Claiborne, kind of by Louisiana, as well as a couple in Kenner, one on Gentilly that have already been updated. And really, all of the storefront on the building is going to stay as is, except for I think one piece of storefront on the drive-through side would be removed and just replaced with a single storefront door. Right now, it's like 3 fixed panes. Other than that, all of the storefront openings are existing to remain. They're going to update the color of the doors only to be an orange for their branding, and fresh coat of paint on the exterior. You can see the elevation here. They're going to add some vertical wood siding and some new canopies, and as Ms. Jones stated, some new signage on the building as well. And on the interior lot side, they'll be adding some, or they'd like to add some brick exterior material as well. So, that's really it. I'm available for questions. We'll say they also want to just update the clearance bars in the along the drive-through to be per their new branding as well. They'll have kind of like, they call them like hockey sticks, but just a new look for the clearance bars that you drive under for the drive-through. But that is pretty much it. The site will basically be existing to remain, except for the removal of a couple parking spots at the rear of the building. And the point of that is to give the drive-through lane more room. Right now, the drive-through lane is really far back in the parking lot, and there's not really an adequate pass-by lane. So we're removing the parking that's behind the building, adding a nice patch of landscape between the building and the drive-through, and then another piece of curbing with landscape between the drive-through and the bypass lane, just to really help with the flow of the parking lot. And that's really it. There is interior work going on as well, but I'm not sure. Does that fall under the scope of this review, the interior work?
No.
Yeah. So in terms of exterior, that's really it. I can answer questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go back to the elevations of the new proposal?
And I think at the back of the set, there should be a couple 3D colorized exterior views as well that might help you visualize.
That would be helpful.
There we go.
So the fake shuttered openings, those are the existing that are staying?
They're being replaced, but there are similar shutters there currently. They're just kind of in rough shape, and they're slightly different size, and they're a different color. So they're just replacing them with something that's, fresh and with the new color scheme. Their new company-wide, their new color scheme is the teal and the orange, rather than the kind of yellows and greens that they have currently.
Yeah, I guess I'm personally questioning the necessity of fake shutters at all. I understand that otherwise it would be a blank wall, but I just think that the fake shutters don't really add much and are pretty ticky-tacky.
Am I allowed to respond as they go, or do I get time at the end?
If a committee member will ask the question or address something to you, then you can respond. I think this was just Eleanor's comment at the end after the 5-minute recess. If there's any comments of opposition, you'll have a chance to speak, but your turn to present has finished.
Okay, thanks. I haven't done this process before. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I was just curious how the other committee members felt on that score. It just seems like we have an opportunity to sort of clean up building.
Yeah, this is Stephen. I agree with that. In general, the zoning ordinance doesn't allow for non-functional shutters and other things that have historically served functional purposes. So understanding that this does exist to a certain extent, I don't know that the zoning allows it, and that's something we're going to have to look into a little bit. Certainly the retention of the existing ones would be allowed. Their removal and the installation of new ones, I think, is the question. But I agree with the general sentiment that things like that should have a functional purpose.
Yeah, it's Miguel here. I was wondering if there is the main elevation, if you have it in an elevation format with the colors that are being used. rather than the 3D render?
The drawings I submitted are 2D black and white elevations and then the 3D in color.
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm in a tiny little computer here, so I'm having.
I think it would be helpful is the brick at the takeout window portion. Is that just a different colored brick than what's being applied to the front facade?
The brick on the two sides is like a red brick. On the front facade is a vertical wood slat.
It's a what?
A vertical wood slat, like a brown wood. So there's kind of three materials. There's the stucco, the vertical wood siding, and then the brick. Kind of the three materials.
I guess my my recommendation would be to remove the faux shutters and the proposed light fixtures above them, highlighting them. And is the gooseneck lamp fixture a part of the branding? Is that consistent across Popeye's facilities?
It is, yeah.
So that would be my only recommendation.
Okay, thanks, Eleanor, for that comment. And I'll just add that this site is within an enhancement corridor overlay. And since this is not a substantial renovation, you're not required to really modify the parking area or landscaping. However, since this overlay is intended to provide for pedestrian and bicycle access, I would ask that you consider making some improvements to improve that type of circulation.
I'd like to make a comment. So on the exterior, since y'all are doing work, this would be a good time to bring the sidewalk into a state of good repair. The sidewalk's pretty beat up on South Carrollton. And the driveway on South Carrollton is wider than the entrance. So it looks like it's an old kind of driveway width that was never adjusted by the building. So maybe it'd be a good time to fix that up and make sure the driveway matches the site. But just generally, we have some sidewalk around the oak tree in the entrance it's pretty beat up and it needs to be repaired per the normal requirements of sidewalk maintenance for property owners. And then as well, just in the site, there's some curb damage around the landscaping areas. And at the corner of South Carrollton and Earhart, that landscaping curb has been damaged. So it'd just be a good time to survey the site and do the necessary curb repairs and sidewalk repairs. And then just in terms of the site plan, I see 4 cars in the drawing. I'm looking at A01, 80.1. But, you know, it seems impossible for that first car to get into that position. So I'm wondering exactly how this drive-through is supposed to work geometrically. You know, it looks like it has less capacity than the existing site. And, you know, I have no idea how the cars are supposed to queue into it from the street, given that there's the parking lot, you know, the parking spots and the traffic island that's blocking the entrance to the drive-through. So I think maybe we need a different diagram or maybe some geometric adjustments so this is a little more realistic.
Is that a question I can respond to about how the parking is supposed to work? Or the
Yeah,
driveways.
I would, yeah, I'd like a response, actually.
Okay. So I mean, you're correct. That last car in the queue, it would be more at an angle. This is pretty close to the existing condition. There's actually like parking right now where the landscape between the building and the drive-through is, so cars are getting like trapped between the drive-through lane and the rest of the parking lot. So that's why we're eliminating that and putting in parking. And we are shortening the stacking lane slightly, again, because the existing condition is such that where it says X-1 in the plan, the bypass lane is really like super, it's less than 12 feet wide right now because the drive-through lane is so far back. So while it is making the stacking condition at the drive-through better, I'm trying to make the rest of the navigation for people who are, navigating the rest of the parking lot a little bit better. But that last car would be more like at an angle than parallel as I'm showing it right now. I'd also like to note that we had originally proposed adding a second drive-through lane and kind of eliminating that landscaping, eliminating the 2 spots and that landscape island behind the bypass or the stacking lane right now, and kind of tucking 2 drive-through lanes in there, exactly for the reason that we wanted to eliminate the kind of backup that this drive-through is currently causing. Cars are always backing up onto Carrollton with this drive-through. The drive-throughs are an existing non-conforming use on the site, so we're actually not allowed to add a second drive-through. So we're a little bit hemmed in with the site. This was trying to alleviate some of the existing drive-through and parking lot issues that are existing. That said, we could, if you think it's a better, more realistic layout, we could eliminate the existing landscape island and those 2 stalls, and just give like the whole length of the drive-through along the building, or the parking area along the building, to the drive-through lane. We're just a little hemmed in with kind of like the existing site conditions.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly which way to go on that. Probably extending it would help just in terms of site capacity, but if it would really make an operational difference. But otherwise, you'd almost be coming off that semicircle and tying into the landscaping would give you the same capacity, and then you're widening your landscaping or something. So you could kind of go either way with it, or even putting the parking back there or something. I don't know. I mean, I know you don't want the parking because they're backing up into it. That's fine. But it just seems like there's a lot of space here. Like even this pavement shading is, very wide for a vehicle. So there just seems to be a lot of kind of unused space out there, or not efficiently used space, that we may want to look at. In terms of the Earhart Boulevard entrance, you're changing that from a 2-way to a 1-way there?
No, we're keeping we're maintaining the existing in and out. Those arrows were what was indicated on the survey, but I do think people use it as a 2-way currently. So we're not proposing any modifications to that.
Okay, so that's going to be an in and an out. But that in is only going to those angle parking spots.
Yeah, I mean, from Earhart, it's pretty, I guess cars can turn right in from that location. It's kind of like a awkward intersection right now. So honestly, I was just gonna keep whatever the existing traffic conditions are. That's kind of what we were maintaining.
Yeah, it's just a little funny because before you had this island, this landscaping island behind the building that you're proposing. Today, if there weren't a line, I guess you could access the order. You could access the place where you order the food from that entrance, I guess. And now it seems like you pretty much have to turn right there. I don't think you'd want to go in between you don't want to go much further than that the wrong way, I guess, because it's kind of one-way circulation on the other side of that island. I don't know. Okay, well, yeah, let's just change. Probably want to change those arrows or something, because it is kind of misleading and would trigger some zoning issues for a one-way driveway if you were to convert that.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay.
And Louis, just to follow up with your comment about the how the cars enter the stacking lane, perhaps you can modify the curbing of that new landscape island to follow kind of the direction of the slant that the car would enter.
Right. I mean, you'd almost if you weren't going to remove the old little landscaping island, the one that divided the two sets of parking, you could tie this landscaping, the new landscaping island, the semicircle, you could tie that into the old landscaping thing along the parking, and it would be, the same capacity as what's being shown here functionally. And then you just have some really big landscaping thing, I guess, with the sidewalk going through. So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I don't think
All
I
right.
can-
Are there any other comments for this one?
Yeah, I have a few comments going back to exterior finishes. So I see what, piggybacking on Eleanor's comment about the brick and the stucco proportions. They are a little bit, they kind of cheapen the overall look of the building, and they actually make it look, it kind of creates the illusion that it's a shorter building. Is there any consideration of maybe using all brick throughout the building rather than having multiple materials? And the reason I say that is I'm looking at the pictures of the existing or maybe the older version of the building, and it's painted a uniform color, and it seems to have a little bit more presence on that corner.
The existing building, it does have just the stucco material that's broken into like two colors, with like a water table, brown at the bottom, and then a red trim band in the same location that we're keeping the trim band, and then yellow above that. The new branding for Popeyes has these three materials on all of their locations. So that's that's why those three materials are being used or being proposed. But I can definitely talk to their team about if they would consider deviating from that for this site.
Yeah, it's a major intersection that actually, it's kind of an intersection of two different types of streets. Earhart is a little bit more of a rougher street, just to kind of give it a general. It's got more traffic, and South Carrollton is more of a boulevard type. But if we kind of let go the overall aesthetic of that part, that corner, it just kind of devalues the whole intersection area. So I would rather have a more formal approach to that building to kind of keep it somewhat more in the boulevard concept of South Carrollton. And then please always submit your elevations with color so we can actually see what it is you're proposing. You mentioned, I think the doors were a standard color. Is that a dark color, or is that one of the accent colors?
These doors, they're proposing an orange, and then the remainder of the storefront would maintain the existing bronze finish.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's appropriate for this location. So those are my comments.
Okay, thanks, Miguel. Are there any further discussions from the committee members? If not, we'll come back to this after the recess to make a motion. The third item in today's agenda is the consideration of design review docket 11321 for a property at 301 North Norman C. Francis Parkway. We have Lisa Quarles signed up to speak on behalf of this application, and Valerie Goines is the CTC staff member assigned to this case.
Hello, good morning, everybody. This project triggers review because it'll provide over 100 feet in site frontage in an enhancement corridor design overlay district with over 40,000 square feet in floor area. And I haven't had an opportunity to really review this case yet, so that's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. And so this is the renovation of the former Lindy Boggs Medical Center, and it will turn into a residential care facility. Lisa, you now have 10 minutes to present.
The project is a historic building. The original hospital was built in 1953. The cruciform shape that is the original hospital, plus an L-shaped nurse, was originally a nurse's school and dorm in the back of the building. Subsequent additions kind of filled in either side on the east and west. So we are just proposing to bring it back to life, and rather than being a hospital, it will be a skilled nursing facility with 116 beds, a memory care unit, which will have 24 residents, assisted living with 60 units, and a independent living, which is much more residential than nursing. Independent units, 60 units or 62 units of nursing units. And again, it's historic. We're seeking tax credits. So the intention is just to bring it back and restore it to the way it was. All the windows will be replaced with new windows in kind. All the graffiti will be removed from the brick. We are cutting in a few light wells and terraces for, to get more daylight into the bowels of the building, because they don't really have light for patient rooms that we'll be converting them to. And also on the back of the property, the former power plant will be 2 stories of potential lease space. We don't have a specific use for it, but it's each floor is about 5,000 square feet in that back power plant. That is on Conti Street, kind of facing the bayou, and that's just a potential lease space. And also the rooftop. Many of the rooftops will be developed as terraces, so they'll be landscaped and paved to be usable outdoor terrace spaces. And of course, the sidewalk and the grounds will be renovated and re-landscaped. We've engaged Speckman Mossop Michaels for our landscape architect, and we don't have landscape plans yet, but of course, all the oak trees on Bienville and Norman C. Francis will be protected and maintained, and we will infill with landscaping around the site and upgrading all the sidewalks around. As far as parking, we have a basement which will house approximately 65 cars. We have the parking lot at the back of the site, which belongs to St. Margaret's, who is a partner on this project as well. And we will accommodate all the parking that's required. And we will have the loading dock spaces where they currently are at the ambulance entrance on Bienville Street, and another loading dock on the back of the property for the kitchen on Conti Street, which is also an existing loading dock area. So basically the property is going to function more or less the way it did as a hospital. It's just going to be skilled nursing, memory care, assisted living, and independent living instead.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. The committee can now have a discussion.
Can we scroll through the drawings? I don't have any comments.
So Lisa, this is Lewis with Public Works. You're saying that the parking garage and looks like a parking garage would be accessed through those old ambulance ramps or something?
That's correct. Currently, that's where the loading dock is, and right now the basement is functioning. Well, was obviously, it hasn't been used since Katrina. It used to house the kitchen and lots of offices and used space, but we will not be putting any functioning office space down there. It will be only for parking, and so we'll reconfigure the entrance to allow the cars to come and go just as they using the same ramps that they use to get to the loading dock.
And you're going to maintain that kind of porte cochere on the corner?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, limiting issues with that. If you do, if you do happen to not use one of the driveways on the site, just make sure that you're removing it in the design and closing off that driveway. But if you're using them, and go ahead and keep it as is.
Great.
I have a couple of questions. The elevation or elevations that shows what the building looked like originally?
Yes, this is all existing. There are no additions, no the only demolition that we have is internal, where we're creating some courtyards for light wells in the additions, the 1970s and 80s additions, let me say. But the existing front, which we call the chapel addition from 1969, is a white stucco, not stucco, it's like an aggregate, it's a white. So what shows as white is white. What shows as red is existing brick. And of course, we'll make every effort to remove all of the graffiti on the building
So
per SHPO standards.
The historical includes a 69 renovation. I'm just curious what your colleagues in this context.
Yeah, so when we talk with SHPO, they kind of, the original hospital and nurse school were built in 1953. The chapel in the front, the crescent-shaped part with the rounded part in the front, with the ramps going up to it, that was built in 1969. They also consider that historic, but they kind of lump everything in together. So even though the other west and eastern additions were built in the 70s and 80s, we're still maintaining all of that intact the way it is. I mean, replacing all the way right now, most of the windows have been removed or broken or pulled out. They're boarded up. So every window will need to be replaced, but it will be replaced in kind.
Okay. Well, it looks good. I'm not sure if the definition of historic is quite accurate, but I'm just, it kind of sparked my interest because I never knew what the building looked like originally. It's a very large building. My next question is, you mentioned something about terraces being landscaped. Would those be visible from the street? Because I think the building and its mass, it would really be relieved if it could have some green in the different terraces. And that's just a question I'm posing.
Yes, the intention is that it would, we're not going to have super large trees, but there will be some visibility from the lower terraces that are visible from Norman C. Francis and Bienville. On the Conti side, also you'll see, because it steps back, it's kind of hard to see here, but the original building is, the front of it is like 7 stories, and then it steps back to 6, 5, 4, 3. So it's the building itself is terraced. So on the Conti Street side, when you're standing on the Bayou St. John's Street, the Bayou St. John's side, from a distance, you will be able to see some of the greenscape on the terraces.
Yeah, the general comment is if there's an opportunity to mitigate the mass of the building, I think that would be an appropriate thing to consider. Landscaping would be wonderful. Try to create some kind of connection with it's sort of a hermetic complex, a campus that's kind of appears closed. So anything that could alleviate that, especially with the type of facility you're developing, I think that would be wonderful. My last comment or question is stormwater management and any other resilient type of approach to the rehabilitation. Is that something that's been considered? And I'm more curious about that question more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So stormwater management, we have the basement, and a good portion of it is kind of inaccessible because of the sea of columns that's in there. It's not really conducive in the front original 1950s building for parking. So we will be putting the stormwater tanks in that portion of the building. We have to work out the elevation of it to make sure that the invert at the bottom of the tank works appropriately. But we've got plenty of space. We'll be putting tanks inside the building. Also using the site as well. All the green space on site, we'll use that as well. We don't want to put 100% of the required stormwater capacity in the basement, but we'll be using the site, the terraces, and all those spaces to retain water as much as possible. And what was the second part of your question about resiliency?
Well, just stormwater management and water retention and any other type of resilient approach to the rehabilitation. I don't know if there was any other consideration on that. That may go together with, terracing or green roofs or something like that. I don't know if there's a concept that you're using to kind of deal with a resilient and sustainable rehabilitation. But what it's a question. It's not, it's just I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, that will make every effort for, resiliency, we're going to have the N+1 redundancy for, potentially the N+1 redundancy for all of our mechanical systems and electrical systems. But I think you're talking about more just hurricane resiliency as far as hardening the facility, or?
No, for the building to be sustainable in the sense of how it captures water, how it stores water, and there's a whole stormwater management incentive with the city, and it's part of the permitting requirements, and something that you have to consider from a technical point of view, but it sometimes overlaps with the interests of parks and parkways and DPW, and aesthetically it could be something that allows an enhancement to happen through the use of technical implementation. So I'm just bringing up the topic. That's all. I appreciate.
Yeah, we will definitely be addressing all of that. And just if you're looking at the PDF 19 of 20, one page back, the color coding isn't correct, but you can kind of see which areas are going to be terraced on the roof plan. So we are making an effort to utilize many of the roofs for landscaping and water retention. They won't be blue roofs, but there will be some opportunity to retain water in those terraces as well.
Thank you. I know the city's going to be very happy when this development is finally finished. It's been a long time.
It has.
Okay, we also have a written comment from Danny with Parks and Parkways. He mentioned that no landscape plan was provided. So prior to permitting, a landscape plan, including any improvements to the public right-of-way, should be provided to them. Is there any other committee discussion? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the fourth item on today's agenda, design review 11621 for a property at 2000 Lakeshore Drive. We have Andrea Bauman signed up, and Robin Jones is the CPC staff member assigned to this case.
Hello again. I'm afraid that I have not yet had time to review this site, this project, and I do apologize. I just have not had the time to take a look at it yet.
Okay, we have a little background noise. I'm not sure if someone's trying to make a comment, but if you can mute your microphones. Just a quick overview. This is the new Edward Hines Elementary School on the lakefront campus. The reason we're looking at this is because it would have over 40,000 square feet in floor area. The proposal has over 10 parking spaces, and it's got over 100 feet in an EC Enhancement Corridor Design Overlay District. And we're also reviewing it because it's a primary educational facility. Andrea, you now have 10 minutes to present.
Good morning. This is actually Victoria with Grace A. Bear Curtis Architects. I'll be presenting this project today. It is a primary school from service K through 8. It's mostly a 3-story academic building on the front on Leon C. Simon, with a disconnected commons building on the back with a covered pavilion. It is about 70,000 total square feet of covered under roof. And we will have the front entry is more on Leon C. Simon and Founders, with new parking on the west side. So we have enough parking calculated for the school itself because it is on UNO's campus. We also will maintain all the existing parking on the west side. So all the gray on this site plan are existing for the University of New Orleans, and they will share it with, I think, UNO. And then there's also parking for Benjamin Franklin across the street. So we will lightly touch that. There will also be new parking on the west side of the soccer field for the track building, which is their engineering building for UNO, and we will also help them upgrade some of those amenities over there. Mostly the bus drop-off will be off of Leon C. Simon over there, and carpool drop-off will be on the west side of that. So they will go through the existing parking and also the new parking on the back. There will also be upgrades to some of the landscaping. Of course, there will be, my civil engineer is in talks with Randall. So we are, of course, doing stormwater management 100% and with UNO's, in accordance to UNO's master plan. And then, of course, some upgrade on site lighting. And then I think soccer field, they have that. Anything else you guys want to know?
Is this replacing the existing Hines campus, or is it a second campus for a totally separate school?
This brand new school on UNO's campus.
Right, and the other Hines on Harrison will remain, right?
Yes, they're growing,
okay.
And so they just need a new facility.
So this is Lewis with DPW. You just briefly explain how the parking lots would be used and the bus drop off.
There's a lot, since this is like the corner of their campus, and they have a lot of utilities, existing University New Orleans utilities that comes in and out of this corner. So there's a lot of limitations and restrictions. So that's why you kind of see the drive, which is on the west side. So their main entry is on the west side. I wish there's something I can, okay. Anyway, yeah, so those are all new parking. Those are mainly just for Hines. And yeah, so the new curb cut will be right where, her pointer is. They go through down there and they go loop around, and then they get out of Founders Road, and they kind of loop back around. They go out of Founders, and they can kind of, I guess the bus can go back around the campus and get out of St. Anthony.
Wait a minute, hold on, stop. There's like an island blocking the Founders exit. So I think that would you wouldn't be able to make like a left out of the Founders driveway.
No, you're not. No, that's why you loop back around into campus and then get off of like St. Anthony or however they want. UNO will allow them to.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is an island there, yes.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there's a lot of existing is that the existing commons for UNO, so there's lots of stuff over there that we just can't demo for them. Car drop off is actually at the back, so there's a by the engineering building right in the back. What is that street back there? We don't have a street name. Yeah, it's not a real street, but yeah. That's UNO's, it belongs to UNO's, and that is their carpool drop off into, and then they exit out of St. Anthony, of course.
So it looks like there's some kind of drop off area on the backside at
West?
St. Anthony, on the east side of the building.
Yeah, that's kind of a walkway. There is one over there. It's just like we're kind of making sure that if there's any emergencies or other things, but disabled students, I think it's not their main drop off, but the main one, the morning and the afternoon pickup and drop offs in the rear. The west side is more for like maybe, you know, extraneous things, I guess.
What do you mean by by the rear, it's this on the north side?
The north side, yes. So the north side is their main carpool drop off and pickup.
Okay.
Yeah. And they all exit out to St. Anthony.
Mhm. All right. The one thing that jumps out at me probably from the site plan is that is the pedestrian access. I'd like to see something from Leon C. Simon besides the founders thing. If you could just have even maybe like a driveway kind of, or not a driveway, but like a sidewalk connection.
Yes, yes, we will. I'm sorry. This one we have actually updated. We're continuous talks with my civil engineer. So we do have bike racks in the main entry area. And you see that drive and curve, we will add a sidewalk from Leon C. Simon to the main entry to the bicycle rack. So that is, that will be added to the site plan.
Okay. Okay.
I would like to point out that this site is within an EC educational campus district, and I was wondering if UNO had submitted for an institutional master plan.
Our understanding. It is our understanding.
Haley, I can tell you that they haven't, Haley.
Okay, alrighty. So
The university may have its own master plan, it just hasn't been submitted to the city as part of the IMP process.
Okay, the reason why I ask is because parking was mentioned that it's being shared. Is it being shared amongst the facilities, or do you have dedicated for this use?
On the St. Anthony side, it is going to be shared. There will be an understanding because Benjamin Franklin also has some of that bottom where Leon C. Simon and St. Anthony Street corner. So yeah, they're all going to kind of share this, but the dedicated parking for the school is on the corner of Leon C. Simon and Founders. So they do kind of have to separate some of that.
Okay, so we may need to understand the required parking for the other elements and to make sure that it's all being satisfied with this new use. And just to point out to you, if there's any variances or special considerations that this campus needs that are above the base zoning district regulations, UNO and Hines could submit for an institutional master plan where those things could be considered on a whole site basis. But Robin, she will be reviewing this and she'll let you know if any of those things apply.
I have, my only real concern is with the 2-story element at the Leon C. Simon Drive and Founders Road corner. I just feel like the building is going for sort of a symmetrical monumentality facing Leon C. Simon, and this corner element that is only on the top 2 floors, sort of, you can see it in the renderings, if that's helpful, but it's sort of coming out of nowhere. I mean, if you look at that Leon C. Simon elevation, you know, you've got a central pavilion with 2 wings, and then it's sort of broken down at the top left corner, and that just seems awkward and not very well resolved. And it seems to me that if this corner that's articulated in glass is the entry point, and that maybe it shouldn't be smaller, maybe it should be larger, and that's where the emphasis of the corner piece is made. Because that portion is only 2 stories and it's all glass, and it seems to be competing directly with this double height corner thing happening at the left-hand side of the elevation. And so all of that just seems to be overly articulated, but emphasizing the wrong element. So my recommendation would be is that the wings of the central pavilion be made symmetrical, and the glass entrance pavilion be emphasized in terms of height and visual prominence, so that it announces itself as an entry, maybe with some increased signage and prominence.
Yeah, we will take, yeah, the 2-story element on the top is actually a 2-story science lab. And they wanted to emphasize, I guess, STEM. So that's why we kind of emphasize that. They didn't, I mean, a main entry is a main entry for them. So we can talk to the owner and see if they would like that to be more prominent.
I have comments along those lines, but mine are slightly a little bit different. So let me kind of pose my opinion. I'm going to call that floating element sort of a cube, the floating cube. And I feel that it's an interesting concept. I'm not sure it's very resolved specifically because of how it's finished. It does compete with the other elements that are more institutional in the facade that kind of have this monumentality that are institutional. So it's creating a conflict that could be resolvable within the concept of this thing wanting to be a floating tube. That's an architectural design decision, but it's further hindered by the fact that there's 4 different main exterior materials. You have the brick, you have the lighter stucco, the darker stucco, and then actually you have the glass, and then you have the accent panels. So I would recommend maybe considering simplifying the palette, and maybe that could help you have a resolution on how these design elements fit together.
Miguel, your volume went out. I think you got muted somehow.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, where did I leave off?
It was just about a second ago.
Okay.
Eleanor pointed it out immediately.
Okay, the 3-story facade that's on the that has the, you know, the full 3 heights, the lighter stucco. It doesn't return. It's basically just tacked on the building. So that's, I guess, not resolved if it's wanting to be more of an institutional feel to that entry point. So I think it's kind of a little bit all over the place, but overall, I like the direction this is going. but I think some of these design elements need to be resolved.
Yeah.
Any further committee discussion? Okay, we'll move on to the fifth item for today. Consideration of design review docket 11821 for a property at 3205 Tulane Avenue. We have Miles Martin and Scott Wolf to speak on behalf of this application, and Valerie Goins is the CPC staff member. As a reminder, following staff presentation, the applicant will have 10 minutes to present.
So good morning again. Design review 11821 is a proposal to renovate a building that was previously used for an office into one for restaurant use. This project triggers review because it will provide 100 feet of site frontage, and it's located in an EC enhancement corridor overlay district. And I believe that one of the comments that was received was about the landscape plan not being submitted. I do know that I did receive a landscape plan, but I believe it was on Friday, so that may have been after the deadline. And that's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Miles, you now have 10 minutes to present.
Hello, this is Miles Martin of M3 Design Group, and I'm the professional record for this project. Scott Wolf, the property owner, is online as well. Thank you for committee for taking the time on this application for this commercial white box renovations of the buildings on this important site. The current property includes 2 existing structures located on one of the triangular wedge lots along Tulane Avenue. There is one small existing masonry building, which was formerly a car wash, and it is to be combined with an adjacent 2-story wood frame structure that was formerly a contractor's office. These properties have now been subdivided into one lot of record. The new owner is proposing an expansion of a recent restaurant occupational license from that smaller structure into the adjoining 2-story structure. A new pre-engineered metal canopy jutting out onto the corner wedge is being proposed that will allow seating on top and covered seating below. Refuse storage is to be located below the canopy stair area and to be screened in. A new bike parking area is also located adjacent to this refuse storage. All existing curb cuts are to be eliminated, which prior were fully the length of the lot, removing an awkward haphazard parking situation. As mentioned, a landscape plan was submitted late to this application showing street trees and planter beds along both long access, with a planning also to continue on the wedge of the property. This plan has been forwarded to Mr. McElmurray and sent to the DAC after its initial application. Note the current architectural plans do not reflect the current landscape design as proposed. The exterior renovation of the existing facade looks to clean up some now unused elements, address prior non-compliant egress issues, and introduce some storefront glazing to better see inside the dining area on the first floor suite along Tulane Avenue. At this time, I want to hand off to Scott Wolf, the owner and the proprietor of the buildings.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the consideration of this restaurant. I'm the owner of Melba's Po' Boys in New Orleans, and this is our expansion and commitment to New Orleans. Tulane Avenue, as you may or may not know, is a restaurant desert. There's really not any formal restaurants of any magnitude from South Claiborne Avenue all the way till Carrollton Boulevard, which of course, you know, I think the Chick-fil-A is in development right now for Carrollton and Tulane. So you've got we've targeted the Tulane area because we know that the hospitals and the number of commerce and also the number of the high volume traffic, the courthouses, there's a lot of unserved area in that particular area for a restaurant. So we have the opportunity came to purchase the building behind us and make it a more formal and attractive facility and restaurant. And also, as you know, with COVID these days in restaurants is very difficult. So you need a plan for should the reoccurrence of a COVID or another virus attack us, that we're able to survive with outdoor seating. And in this case, the covered platform allows for outdoor seating underneath it, shaded from the rain and sun, and also upper seating for nice nights for 8 months of beautiful weather that we do have. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has, and I think Miles did a great job on the rendering. I'm sorry the landscape plan was presented late, but hopefully you guys have it in your inbox at this point.
Okay, thank you, Miles and Scott. Is there any committee discussion on this one?
I had a couple of questions regarding the existing building. The renderings show you're removing the little dormer window.
That's an error in the rendering, that that dormer on the roof is just not shown. There's no plans to remove that dormer.
Okay, so I guess my recommendation would be all of the character, the arts and crafts detailing that remains in the building, I would recommend that you keep, because it's kind of the only thing this building has going for it. And that includes the historic wood windows, if possible, on the second floor. And my other question was, in terms of security for this upper deck, when the building is not open, I'm just concerned that this deck is being created and maybe security concerns might need to be addressed from the outset, rather than thought about afterwards.
I agree with that. That would be a concern of mine as well. So we would have to put some sort of gate at the top or at the bottom, or both, to secure that.
Is your plan to keep tables and chairs outside of the building during non-open hours?
Yes, but that furniture would probably be secured some sort of way for, the tropical rainstorms that we get, as well as some sort of theft and concerns. And of course, we're very security conscious. We have, in our existing facility, we have a lot of high quality casino type cameras. We have that at this site as well. So we're very security conscious. So I guess the short answer to your question would be yes.
Yeah, you just might want to consider what kind of fencing or gate you might want to consider for this upper deck during non-operational hours.
Okay. I agree.
Those are all the comments that I had regarding this proposal.
Just Scott, this is Lewis Haywood with Department of Public Works.
Morning.
Morning. So you mentioned removing the driveways, existing curb cuts. Just wanted to, sounds like you're on the right track. Just wanted to make sure that we recognize there is a bus stop, 2-lane bus, got to stop right there, kind of at the tail end of this property, where there's no parking stripe today. You got the bus stop sign on the wood pole. In that area, if you're doing sidewalk renovations or something, either leave what you got out there, or, if you're repaving, pave all the way to the sidewalk for us right there. More or less where it is today would be fine, or even closer to the pole would be good. But we'll review the site plan when it comes to it. That's what we're going to be looking for.
And Lewis, thank you. I didn't realize that there was a 2-lane bus stop there, and we certainly, as far as the sidewalks go, I don't mind spending the extra money to improve the sidewalks, because I don't like broken sidewalks and hazard situation myself. But would even build a a shelter there, if you like, for the 2 lane. There's nothing there except for a post that says bus stop. But we'd even be amenable to building a shelter for the bus stop, make it more attractive, or a bench or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably not, there may not be enough room on the right of way for that. You know, if you wanted to do that, cut out something in the property, you know, that'd probably be subject to some kind of DAC review, and you know, you can go over that with RTA. So I'm not sure exactly what the potential is within the public right of way there. It's not a terribly heavily used bus stop, you know, probably something like 10 boardings a day, it looks like, based on the data I'm seeing. So I don't know how concerned you need to be about it right off the bat, but you know, well, we do want that kind of minimum, just not having any, you know, there's no need to plant grass or something where people are going to be walking across it, that sort of thing. And we like to keep it accessible. For wheelchairs, we're required to keep that accessible, so that's why we just ask that it be paved to the curb, similar to the way it is today.
Okay.
This is Miguel from Capital. I have a couple of questions as well. I also echo Eleanor's comments about trying to maintain the integrity of the arts and crafts design of the building. It looks a little whitewashed, and you know, the new storefront elements kind of degrade the building a little bit. So I would recommend you taking a look at trying to maintain the spirit of the original design of the building. I have a question. The little adjunct structure in the rear, I'm not sure if you mentioned that. Is that part of your facility, or is that a separate element?
Miles, do you know what he's talking about? I'm not clear on what part of the building he's speaking of.
The little shed piece that I think the billboard is being held up through that.
Yeah, so the billboard, that superstructure goes through that building down to the foundation, and that building, I guess, maybe has some historical value, and it's that was a separate piece of property, and it was like, I guess, years and years ago, it might have been a gas station of some sort, and that was just a little walk-in building that they had. So we're now going to incorporate that into the other building where it's monolithic, but retaining its historical value, I guess.
So I guess that leads to my original comment. So the way the renderings look, you painted everything white, so you've kind of like made it all look, you know, consistent, but you're kind of losing the character of what the purpose of that building is. So I would recommend you think about what the perception of that building is going to be. I originally thought that maybe the terrace railing could abut to the building to kind of create some kind of connection that is more logical visibly, but I'm not sure what I would propose if you're saying that this building actually has its own integrity. So I'm not sure what the answer there is, but I'm interested in this little building for some reason. My other question is, under the terrace, are you going to be putting tables under the terrace, occupying it for the restaurant function?
Yes, for outdoor seating, yes, sir.
Okay. Will you ever propose some fencing around, or is that, I guess the comment is actually, it would be great to have the rendering where you're including the furnishings of how you're going to use both the upper terrace and the covered.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to putting fencing around the first floor. That's fine. Also, if you think it's a safety thing, or you think it's.
I don't have an opinion about it. I'm just saying. All I'm saying is show it in the rendering if that's what you intend. I think we need to see it in its full expression of what your intent is.
Okay.
Okay.
May I follow up on what Miguel asked about the billboard? I don't think I followed. Is it just something that will remain?
Yes, it's Outdoor Systems, I guess, is the name of the billboard these days. Yeah, I inherited that. There's a long-term lease on the building, you know, that billboard that I inherited when I purchased it, so I have to live with it, I guess.
Okay. Is there any further committee discussion? Okay, if not, we're going to move to the last item on today's agenda. The sixth item is the consideration of design review docket 12021. The Mayor's Office of Transportation is bringing this before the DAC for input about how this affects your departments and use of the public right-of-way. The Mayor's Office is working with Entergy to provide electric vehicle charging stations at various sites in the city. For this review, we are only looking at this one time as a prototype and not at the individual sites, so please provide guidelines. For example, since signage in the right-of-way is regulated by the city code, a proviso might be that signage shall comply with the city code. Or perhaps something like the EV charging stations should be located at least 18 inches from a curb. We can also provide feedback on layout, colors, material, like our typical review for user needs, maintenance, and regional expression in architecture. The applicant now has 10 minutes to present. We have Laura Bryan signed up to speak on behalf of this application.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Laura Bryan. I'm the director for the Mayor's Office of Transportation. We're really excited to be bringing this before you today. This is a project that we've been working on with Entergy for a long time. It's a result of the City Council's rate case resolution from 2018, whereby they mandated that Entergy work with the city to construct public EV charging stations to be provided to the public to make this transition into electric vehicles. So we have a few folks from the city side who've been working closely on this project. We have Ellen Wagaspak and Rodney Dionisio from Capital Projects. And we also have folks from Entergy. So Greg Chrysler is on, and I believe Scott Barrios and Keith Wood are also on the line, or they may have stepped off. So ultimately, we're looking for your feedback. We know that this is the process that Blue Bikes and RTA both moved through to review their stations and their shelters. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say and are available for any questions.
Are these the proposed colors?
Yes, and I'll let Greg sort of answer most of the questions since he's on. Yeah, they are, Ellen. Eleanor, those are the proposed colors.
And what is the overall height?
It's in another rendering if you can go to a separate page. Keep going.
So I have, is it 95.5 inches, which I'm not sure how that translates to feet.
Yeah, it's actually the design that we're pursuing is the CT 4021, and the overall height is 71.3 inches. 6 feet.
I guess my only other question is procedural in terms of, I understand that this is a prototype that would be approved for installations, but would this body review the individual installations?
No, that's why we're asking if this were approved, we could provide some guidelines that would apply to any site.
Well, it's hard to provide general guidelines. I did go over a couple of, proposed locations with Laura, and they're so site specific that it's hard, to sort of have general guidelines about location, because they're so idiosyncratic. But I guess I would just request that the Mayor's Office of Transportation work with various departments regarding proposed locations and attempt to avoid sensitive locations.
So we have done a significant amount of outreach with the internal steering committee on some of the proposed locations. The reasons why each location, just like you're saying, Eleanor, is it has a lot of site-specific design information that is being detailed through the contractor that Entergy has to work on this project. And those sort of actual site specifications are not yet available. So, and they will be available. They're in the midst of finalizing a contractor. So I don't think that that is a problem. These are intended to go the permitting process through a standard sort of permitting process. It's my sense that we can add, whichever agencies need to be added on to that permitting process to make sure everyone has a review of the site specific information.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Further the discussion a little bit. I think there's some specifics that we can kind of address. I am wondering first the installation details and whether there will be sort of a concrete pad detail that incorporates the installation of the piece with the bollards. And I think that's sort of a functional thing that may be amenable for the different agencies that manage around the installed utility. I think it's very handsome. I think the concept is spot on. I think it's good. But my concerns are how it's actually installed, if there's a way to standardize that installation component integrated with the bollard so it's consistent and maybe a little bit more secure in terms of protecting it from vehicles. And then I would recommend standardizing the bollard type, because bollards seem to be one thing that every single agency struggles with. And if we just knew from the outset what the type of the bollard is and pick something that is applicable to the majority of applications, I think it would be a successful deployment of the installation. Those are my comments.
I believe this is Rodney Denisio. I believe what's being presented is what is wanting to be installed at each of the sites with the heights and the bollards and the width. So adding a concrete pad to encompass all of that, I think would, can also be the design standard. Obviously, this is, like we said, the prototype. So this is what we want to install at each locations, when they're all selected.
Does the answer address the concern? Standardized bollard types, just because all the agencies seem to have a problem with bollard types. It'd be great if the city could come with some consistency on that issue. And I don't know if Lewis is still on, but do you have an opinion about this, since you're streets and sidewalks, and maybe if it's not an issue from your end, then maybe I'm just focusing on something that's just a detail.
Well, in terms of whether it's all on a concrete pad, that's generally going to make it easier. I mean, it's almost kind of for maintenance in terms of, can you mow around it and that sort of thing, and just kind of keeping it clean around the base of these things. So you could do that. In terms of the bollards themselves, it's similar to what we use like a concrete filled pipe in a lot of locations. There was one around the fire hydrants in front of the Popeyes that we discussed earlier, I noticed. So it's kind of a common thing just for protecting roadside elements. I'm not sure what, I'm not sure if it's like contextual or if it's like good looking. So you may want, there's certainly other options, I'll say that, there's other options that do the same thing.
If that's the approach, that's cool. I'm just wanting to bring it up because bollards, as I said, bollards seem to be something that is a difficult thing to come up with some consensus on how to detail a bollard and what it needs to look like. I'm not opposed to if that's what you propose or you concur with. I'm just bringing it up as a discussion topic.
Yeah, I mean it's a common treatment for like a non-decorative bollard. You can have a decorative bollard, which is basically just like a sleeve on top of the concrete pipe that achieves the same thing basically. But this is kind of a normal thing you would see around fire hydrants and that sort of thing that you're looking to protect. I don't know that they're even really necessary. That's kind of up to the people that are installing it and have the monetary investment in it. We've certainly, we've had people install them in front of their residences before, under the earlier protocol, I guess, or maybe under the same protocol that were unprotected, just kind of residential meters at the curb. So they don't have to be protected, but it's kind of up to the people that are investing in it, I guess.
Okay, that's a good point. And also, I think ADA compliance is something that needs to be considered, I suppose. In how
I mean, this certainly is not ADA compliant.
It's going to be detailed per application. So I think we're just having discussion topics. So,
well, I mean, it's interesting. I think that would be something the DAC would be concerned with a little bit in terms of whether or not they would require accessibility.
Right.
Certainly that would affect the design concept a great deal. I don't even know if it's really achievable or realistic or what those requirements would be. Right. But that would require a different level of site design.
Well, it's very exciting. It looks great.
I was wondering if these were for use 24/7, and if so, if it's dark outside, is there any consideration to lighting?
Yes, most of the locations that we're looking at are basically underneath existing street lighting. If I believe correctly, 24 of the 25 sites we're intending to pursue had street lights almost directly above the charger. And the LCD screen, which is towards the top middle of the charger, does light up at night as well for easy utilization.
Yep.
To your point, Miguel, about the bollards, does anyone think it would make sense for the color to match the charging station, or is the contrast something that we like?
I mean, I don't think it really, if the bollard protects, having it safety yellow really is necessary. I mean, I kind of think a bollard that disappears from my end would be better. I don't know who selects colors of bollards, but sometimes they need to be yellow, but in this case, I wouldn't recommend them being a safety yellow. I'd rather they disappear with the landscape. If I had an opinion, someone was asking me.
I mean, doesn't seem like they need to be bright yellow, and they tend to get scuffed and messed up. And so I would think a dark green or something, or black to match would be better.
The dark green would be nice.
Almost like a New Orleans green. Is that your suggestion?
Yeah.
That dark forest green that. Yeah, things get to the landscape.
We don't want to do Mardi Gras stripes. Green, purple, yellow, kind of like the barbershop.
Greg, in terms of the bollards, is it possible to see if there's locations where they can be removed altogether?
Yeah,
when
we
they
could,
go through? Yeah.
we can definitely evaluate through that process the further we get, Laura. We're definitely open to that. I think some of the curbside locations, it's probably a good idea just as far as protecting the investment. But some locations we can evaluate.
They could definitely be more sculptural and either plant and even planters. So just to throw that out there. But is there any other committee discussion on this item?
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. We have a rule here that any vertical element needs to be 18 inches from the back of curb. So when you're doing your site design, it would all have to be 18 inches off the back.
Thank you.
Okay, and as we mentioned, item number 7 was withdrawn. So this concludes the presentation of dockets. The committee will now recess for 5 minutes and reconvene at 11:36, after which public comment will be read into the record. The digital public comment form is now closed. We will begin with.
Haley, you have a really bad echo.
Okay, working on it.
That's better, I think.
Stephen, have we received any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay, since we did not receive any public comment, that there should be no applicant responses unless a committee member asks a specific question. So we will start with item number 2, the consideration of design review docket 11221. At this time, is the committee ready to make a motion?
Is anyone else having a hard time hearing Haley?
Oh, goodness.
Yes, I'm having a hard time.
And it's just
I can hear her fine.
so I'm hearing some yeses and some nos. Is this better, Eleanor?
A little bit.
Okay, I'll try to put the headphones back on, if I can have a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yes, very well.
Okay, great, everyone. Thank you for that time. So at this time, would the committee make a motion for item number 2, design review docket 11221 for a property at 3100 South Carrollton Avenue for the Popeyes renovation?
I could start a motion. What I have so far is motion to resubmit with reconsideration of exterior finishes to explore all brick facade, bronze storefront, and remove inoperable shutters. Eleanor, would you add anything to that?
Nope, that works for me.
And then side issues, I'm sorry, we need side issues from Lewis, I think.
DPW had suggested to repair sidewalks on South Carrollton and to reduce the driveway width to align with the drive. And also there's some curb damage at the corner.
Yeah, I would add that to the motion.
And may I make a friendly recommendation, amendment, Miguel?
Yes.
The way you stated it, it would come back to DAC, but can we do this as an administrative follow-up with the applicable agencies?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other provisos that anyone wanted to add? Okay, thanks. Oh, well, actually, I would like to see if you would like to add, Miguel, some pedestrian crossings and bicycle markings.
I mean, I think it would make sense to kind of, no? Lewis, are you shaking?
We generally don't let people install like crosswalk stuff at driveways. So if that's what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to do it inside the site somewhere, that's fine, but we don't strike the sidewalks.
Well, I don't think this site really calls for it too much because it's against the street. So strike that. And so we have a motion by Capital Projects for approval, subject to 4 provisos: 1, to make an all brick facade; 2, to remove inoperable shutters; 3, to make sidewalk and curb repairs. Actually 3 provisos, and to have a follow-up administrative review. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second by HDLC. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. We'll move on to the third item, design review docket 11321 for the property at 301 North Norman C. Francis Parkway for the renovation of the Lindy Boggs Medical Center into a residential care facility. At this time, is the committee ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion for approval by HDLC and a second by Capital Projects. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. The fourth item is consideration of design review docket 11621 for the property at 2000 Lakeshore Drive for the primary educational facility.
Do you want me to take a stab at it, Eleanor, or do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, how about, do we want him to come back, Hallie, or what's the,
This one's not on, actually, none of these are on a strict timeline. They're all design review cases, so timeline is not a consideration here. However, are any of the changes that you're requesting major enough that you don't think that they can have a follow-up administrative review where the staff member would email you and Eleanor the proposed changes, whatever you think?
would you be happier with that, Eleanor, or would you want to see a resubmit?
I'm fine with working it out via.
Okay. Yeah, so the motion would be to work it out, so to speak. Haley, I don't know quite what language to use, but
So it's approval subject to provisos for review at staff level.
okay. Approval, exactly that approval on provisos to staff. And it's the exterior resolution of exterior finishes, minimizing exterior finishes and resolving the design elements on the facades.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Parks and Parkway, Capital Projects for approval subject to two provisos. One, the resolution of exterior finishes, and two, the resolving the facade modifications as mentioned. And this would be subject to further staff level review with the applicable agencies. And we have a second by HDLC. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. The fifth item is consideration of design review docket 11821 for a property at 3205 Tulane Avenue. At this time, is the committee ready to make a motion?
Approval on provisos, Eleanor, is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess provisos, provided they retain the character defining architectural features from the arts and craftsman style and include security elements.
And maybe identifying, just kind of addressing the property that's sort of part of the campus that isn't owned by the owner. I don't know how to say that. Haley?
Okay, you're saying which portion of the site are you talking about is not under their ownership?
The building, the small building where the billboard is. Do we want to highlight that in our approval, or do we want to just let that go?
They're just maintaining it, I believe. So yeah, I don't think there's a need to highlight it.
So then delete that. So I think Eleanor articulated the motion.
There was some willingness by the applicant to provide a bus shelter. DPW kind of said it may not be necessary. Do we want to proviso that they work with RTA about perhaps making a bus shelter? And also Lewis wanted to say that any sidewalk repairs, the concrete should extend to the bus stop. So maybe just extend the concrete to the bus stop, right?
Yeah, I mean, just right. I mean, just for clarity, I think that any bus shelter would be encroaching on their property. And I don't think it's, I mean, maybe the committee feels differently, but I wouldn't think that we would put in a proviso that, you know, you have to figure out a way to have a bus shelter on your property. So, I mean, that's purely like a voluntary thing,
Okay,
you know, if he was interested. I don't think it's really, I mean, we don't even really need we don't need the applicant's participation if it's feasible to do it on public property to eventually do it on public property. And there's nothing in the design that would preclude that. So, you know, I don't think it's necessary to include any proviso about it.
thanks,
That
Louis.
that one didn't have a landscaping plan.
That's correct. It's been submitted. So the fourth proviso would be for Parks and Parkways to review the landscaping plan. So we have a motion by Capital Projects for approval subject to 4 provisos. 1, maintaining the historical architectural elements. 2, secure outdoor seating elements. 3, extend concrete to bus stop. And 4, landscape plans to be approved by the Department of Parks and Parkways. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by DPW. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. The final item on today's agenda is item number 6, design review docket 12021 for the electric vehicle charging station.
Motion to approve with the provisos to address ADA and standardized installation of bollard components if possible, or actually not take if possible out. Louis, did you want to add anything else to that with setbacks?
I mean, just regarding the ADA, I'm a little concerned that you know, you could have a situation where there's no federal requirement for the facility to be accessible. Maybe I mean, I could be totally wrong about that, but it could be that not everyone needs to be accessible. And, you know, I'm worried about the language saying that the DAC is saying that it must be accessible. And I'm not sure if that's what we're trying to say.
Okay, do I want to withdraw my motion and maybe you articulate something that's more accurate?
I think that we will let the you know, it's something that would need some research. So, you know, it could be something that we express down the road in the permitting process. You know, if we decide that you know, if the city decides that they need to be accessible, we could just say that without, I don't think that would really alter the DAC design enough in terms of the device and that sort of thing.
Well, I may make a friendly amendment that we can just say universal design is encouraged.
So approval with the proviso that universal design is encouraged.
That's fine with me.
So far we have 2 provisos, that and standardizing the bollards. And we had also discussed having a concrete pad. I'm not sure where that fell.
I think standardizing the bollards addresses the pad. It kind of, if you have to standardized installation of components. So strike out the specific mention of bollards. At that point, if you standardize the installation components, if possible, I don't know if that's a good idea though either.
We're good with standardized bollards. Now, we'll say provide concrete pads if possible.
Well, it kind of gets resolved during the permitting process anyway. So at this point, leaving that out, I think it'll be caught through the permitting process. Do you agree,
Okay.
Louis?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we would add DPW's comment that any vertical element would be 18 inches from the back of curb. Oh, also, we had asked that the bollards be dark green or black. Do we want to say recommended dark forest green?
Well, the standardizing for the finishes would be logical to include that comment in that proviso.
Okay.
Yeah, you may want to make that subject to DPW approval. I mean,
Yeah, and that way it gets caught, because these were discussion topics, but we don't want to, we don't want to have overkill. I mean, standardizing the bollards through DPW approval would be a way to catch everything.
well, yeah,
Okay.
we don't, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to say about the color.
Okay, then strike that out.
Maybe that it may be that if it's dark green, it's going to need like some reflective tape or something on it. Who knows?
I'm taking the lead on the motion, but maybe Louis, you should have. Where are we, Haley?
I will just kind of recap. So Miguel, you can still make the lead or you can
yeah.
withdraw, but we're just offering some amendments, and I'll just mention Eleanor did state that she would like the mayor's office to work with various departments and to attempt to avoid sensitive locations. And this Laura's response was that this could be worked into the standard permitting process when they review site-specific information. So I don't know if we want to work that into a proviso, a guideline. Do we want to work the various departments review into a guideline for the site-specific location?
I mean, it seems like that's happening, sort of internally. So I don't think we need to add it as a guideline.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so it sounds as though, Miguel, you may be motioning for approval subject to 3 provisos. 1, that universal design is encouraged. 2, that any vertical element be set back 18 inches from a back of curb. And 3, standardized bollards if possible.
Yeah, bollards and finish color of the forest green. So is it 18 inches minimum or maximum, Louis?
At least 18.
Minimum.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by DPW. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, this concludes the November meeting, and thank you all for your time, and we will see you in December.
Thank you all.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Haley.